So my name is Gabriel Gasque, and I'm head of outreach at Protocols.io. And before we begin with this introduction to Protocols.io webinar, I will introduce myself. I have a background in experimental neuroscience with doctoral studies and postdoctoral training. And before joining Protocols.io as head of outreach, I was an editor in PLOS Biology, which is the flagship journal of the Public Library of Science, or PLOS. So I consider myself a scientist, as well as an advocate for open science, experimental reproducibility, and research integrity. And before we begin, I would like to share some housekeeping information with you. As mentioned before, I am recording this presentation, and I will be sharing the recording and the slides with all registered participants. Also, closed captioning has been enabled, so feel free to turn it on if you want to use it. I will speak for about 40 to 45 minutes, leaving at the end some time for questions. But you can start typing them right away at any moment in the chat or in the Q&A windows of Zoom. Finally, while this is an introduction to Protocols.io, you can find upcoming, more advanced webinars by visiting protocols.io/webinar. The URL is at the bottom of this slide. And you can also request in the second URL at any time a one-to-one demo. Now, what you see on the screen today is the agenda for today's presentation. I will go over some of the more general points in terms of the motivations for creating Protocols.io, what our history is, what our mission is, and how the platform and its tools can make your work easier and faster, both in the research lab and in the classroom, as well as to increase the reproducibility both inside and outside your own research group. But let's begin with what Protocols.io is. So Protocols.io is a virtual platform for the collaborative development, sharing, and publication of detailed, up-to-date, and reproducible experimental protocols before, during, and after publication of a research article. And we have collected a series of tweets that comment on the difficulties and frustrations of trying to replicate previously published experiments. And as you can read in this example that comes from the field of physics, Daniel goes from reference to reference, trying to understand how certain devices mentioned in a paper from 2017 were fabricated. And when he finally reaches the original publication from 2009, the materials and methods section of this original paper simply say, devices were fabricated with conventional methods. This is just an example that highlights a widespread problem that is very often the information reported and included in materials and methods sections of published articles is insufficient to allow readers to understand what was done and to reproduce the experiments. As part of the background on why we created Protocols.io, we also like to talk about the Cancer Biology Reproducibility Project, which was a $1.5 million initiative coordinated by the Center for Open Science and by Science Exchange, with the goal of trying to independently replicate almost 200 experiments from about 50 high-profile papers on cancer biology. What the Reproducibility Project researchers discovered very soon after the project began is that it is very difficult to replicate previously published work. There are several reasons why this is the case. But one of them is that the original researchers didn't document in their articles with enough detail what they did and how they did it. So what you see on the screen is a Center for Open Science website that summarizes some of the results of the Cancer Biology Reproducibility Project. And as you can see, of the 193 experiments that they tried to replicate from 53 articles, 0% of the protocols, 0% were completely described, which made it impossible to reproduce them without contacting the original authors. But equally striking, when researchers from the Reproducibility Project contacted the original authors, they also discovered that these, the original authors, did not always could tell how exactly their own experiments had been done. Therefore, the problem of lack of reproducibility goes beyond the lack of adequate reporting in published articles, but also highlights deficiencies in the way researchers keep record of their own experimental protocols for use in the future. And this is caused, among many other reasons, because people move from labs. So students graduate and leave, postdoctoral researchers become faculty elsewhere, and so on. And traditional paper notebooks can be easily damaged, misplaced, or lost. And are difficult, it's really difficult to search within those paper notebooks to try to find the most updated version of a protocol. Therefore, we thought that a cloud-based system for the proper preservation and publication of detailed experimental research protocols was needed. So generally speaking, protocols.io comes in two flavors. We have the completely free open access repository, which provides unlimited publishing of protocols. Each of these public protocols will receive a unique digital object identifier, or DOI, making it permanent and citable. It is therefore free to create an account in protocols.io and to publish an unlimited number of protocols. And because the repository is open access, it is equally free to come and read, use, and reuse any and all of the public protocols. But we also have premium accounts that offer everything the free plan offers, plus an unlimited number of private protocols and workspaces, premium training, and for the institutional accounts, a free protocol import service. So if you're interested to learn more about our plans, you can find more information at protocols.io/plans/academia. And I will explain later on what workspaces are and how the protocol import service works. Some of you might already have an institutional premium account if your university is a partner of protocols.io. So you can check this by going to protocols.io/for-institutions, as I'm showing in this movie. Scroll down and search in this drop-down menu if your organization is already a partner of protocols.io. But let's now discuss why it is productive, time-saving, and rewarding to create, share, and publish detailed research protocols in addition to fostering reproducibility. And the key message that I want to convey is that practicing open science, including and specifically open methods, is beneficial for the practitioner as much as it is for the extended research community. So let me begin by showing how the protocols created in the platform and published in the open access repository go beyond what a traditional static PDF offers. Our protocols are live, dynamic, and interactive, yet persistent and citable documents. So I'm going to be opening one of these public protocols so you can see. Because the protocol has been peer-reviewed, it has an assigned DOI. The protocol itself is written in a step-by-step recipe-like fashion. It can be supplemented with images, pictures, and even videos. Different sections of the protocol can be coded in different colors, creating a table of contents that I can navigate. The protocol is an interactive document because any reader can come and use this plus sign to add a comment or a question, and the authors will be notified. It is also extremely easy for anyone, any reader, to make a copy, a fork, which is an editable copy of this protocol, and then tweak it to their own specific needs, equipments, mouse model, or cell line. As you saw previously, the protocol is versionable, and I can navigate between different versions of the protocol. I can even compare two versions of the protocol. And the protocol can also be run directly from the computer or tablet. So by clicking the Run button, I can create a run record of the protocol. So as I run through my experiment, I can mark each step as done. I can add comments to the run, and this can all be saved as an independent file with a timestamp. But let me go back now to my presentation. So, and while there's a historical bias in favor of protocols in biomedicine, the platform itself is agnostic to the subject area of research, and researchers in many different fields have begun using it to develop, share, and publish protocols beyond the molecular biology lab. So in this slide, I showed you just 5 examples of protocols for electronics, computational biology, clinical research, systematic reviews, and meta-analysis, and environmental sciences. But you can extrapolate the idea to your specific area of research. So again, let me open one of these protocols as an example. I'm going to be opening a protocol for archaeology in this case. And again, as I showed you before, the protocol is written in a step-by-step recipe fashion. It has images and pictures. It has different sections. There are several versions of the protocol, and I can either fork it to create my own editable copy, or I can run it from the computer or tablet. Now, I want to discuss why we think it is rewarding to create and publish any of these detailed research protocols. So not necessarily in order of importance, but a first advantage of making your methods public is that by using specialized repositories to publish these protocols, you are increasing the chances that these will be discovered and reused, which should lead to more credit and recognition for the work that you do. And again, I'm going to be using an example from Twitter, now called X. So you can see here a tweet from a researcher who was looking for a protocol for RNA extraction from primary cortical neurons in culture. Someone answered this tweet and recommended a protocol that is in protocols.io. But this protocol was actually part of a paper that was published in the journal GigaScience. But this paper was about a fish parasite. So the chances of researchers working on primary cortical neurons in culture finding a paper on a fish parasite as a means of finding a method that would work for them seemed really slim. But because the protocol was published independently in a specialized repository, it made the method more discoverable and increased the chances of people reusing it. So protocols.io started in 2014. We currently have over 185,000 registered users who have created over 18,000 public protocols and over 63,000 private protocols. The public protocols are all open access, as I mentioned before, which means that they are fully searchable and free to read, use, and reuse. And last year, these public protocols had over 2.5 million readers. And once a protocol is published, the document has a tab that is called metrics that shows in real time all traffic and use of the protocol, including number of views, exports, copies, comments, and citations that the protocol receives. Another reason to make your protocols public is to guarantee preservation and to facilitate seamless continuity of the work inside your research group. As we have discussed, a large fraction of a lab personnel is floating. Students and postdocs usually leave their lab. So publishing the protocols makes them persistent citable objects that will be permanently stored in your workspace as well as in the open access repository. And I should mention that all private and public content of protocols.io is mirrored and backed up in Clocks, GitHub, and the Internet Archive. And public sharing of protocol also increases the chances of establishing collaborations, as we have seen cases where researchers report that this is the case. And I would like to show to you how the comment functionality of the platform allows an open, scholarly, and productive discussion between all parties interested in a particular protocol or method. So I'm going to be opening another protocol. This is, again, a public protocol that has 3 versions. And this protocol is particularly popular. So you can see that this protocol has received over 1,300 comments. Because this is a public protocol, any reader can come, click in the comments, and you can see the conversation, the discussion between the readers, users of the protocol, and the authors. You can see this is an open, collegial, scholarly communication that could potentially lead to collaborations. And managing and publishing your research protocols should also simplify the work down the road, your work, when the time of submitting and publishing a paper, a research paper comes. Again, another example from Twitter. Here we have Professor Jonathan Kipnis at the Washington University in the United States saying, what if labs publish each of their unique methods, protocols, and in future papers, instead of rewriting the protocols, we just cite them. We waste so much time on methods by saying the same thing differently. And that is exactly what protocols.io is about. You can publish your updated, detailed protocols in the open access repository, obtain DOIs, and then you and your colleagues that use your methods can cite these protocols in your and in their papers, moving away from the traditional method of writing just very vague method sections. And this is what the authors of this PLOS biology paper did. So they created, deposited, and published their protocols in protocols.io, obtaining a citable DOI, which they then included in the materials and methods section, replacing most of the writing. Now the reader, by following the link, has access to the detailed protocol in protocols.io. And a really nice thing about how protocols.io works is that the protocols are versionable. So if the authors have updated their protocol since the time of the paper publication, the reader will be notified. And they can choose to read the protocol as it was published together with the paper, which is what you see now on the screen, or by following the View the Newer Version link, have access to the most updated version of the same protocol. And as a bonus, by practicing open science, and particularly open methods, you increase reproducibility in the field, which you can see as a present from you to your community, to your colleagues. But also you're increasing reproducibility within your own research group, which you can see as a present to yourself. And in a push to increase transparency, accountability, and reproducibility, several organizations, including over 500 scientific journals, funding agencies, and educational and research institutions in 3 continents, support and promote the use of protocols.io. Now, let me give you just a taste of how the platform looks like and how its different functionality allows you to do everything I listed before. Organize and preserve your work, collaborate, save time, and increase your reproducibility, impact, and credit. So protocols.io, the platform, has 3 main sections. It has the workspaces, the file manager, and the editor. And I will explain in the next few slides how they relate to each other by using a simple cartoon. So the workspace is where everything happens. It is from this space that you create protocols, organize your work, and collaborate with others. The workspace has a folder that is organized by the file manager. And in the file manager, you can use the editor to create protocols. So during my next conversation on what each of these sections does, and how they relate to each other, I will be moving back and forth between them. So if you go to our website, what you see on the screen is the landing page. You can create an account if you have not done so already and log in. You can also log in using ORCID or Facebook or Google. And the system will ask you to create your first workspace. You can also, at this point, start inviting collaborators to join your workspace, but this is not, the second step is not compulsory. Once you have created your first workspace, you will have access to the file manager, which in this case is empty because I just created the workspace. To the left, you have access to the administration menu of the workspace, and to create the first protocol, you have to go to the new button, which will take you to the editor. The file manager will eventually contain display, and organize all the protocols and other documents that you have created and stored within that workspace. The file manager supports any file type. It helps you archiving, auditing, and exporting because it can connect to Dropbox, OneDrive, and Google Drive. And it has been designed with enterprise-grade security and backup functionality. The editor has detailed components, a granular editing history that allows all changes to be reverted if needed. The protocol of the editor, also allows concurrent editing by two or more collaborators in the same way that two or more people can work simultaneously on a Google document, for example. As I mentioned before, multiple times, the protocol is written itself in a step-by-step recipe-like fashion, and different sections of the protocol can be coded in different colors. Now, going back to the workspace. This is the space for collaborations. You can invite anyone to join your workspace. It can be a student or postdoc, another faculty member within the same institution, and even external collaborators. To invite collaborators, you have to access the administration menu of the workspace, select Manage Members, and then you can invite collaborators by just typing their email address. You can make your workspace public, meaning that it will be searchable and people can request to join once they find it. Or you can make your workspace completely private, which is the default setting. You can also manage the privileges that members of that workspace, of your workspace, will have. And you can limit what they can do, such as inviting other members or sharing or deleting files from the workspace folder. Workspace member can comment on the protocols you are sharing with them through the workspace using the comment functionality that I showed you before. They can also take an existing protocol and make changes to that protocol if you allow them to do so. And there is a detailed log of all changes done to the protocol. So you can always go back to previous versions if you need it. Members of a workspace can also create protocols within the workspace or take an existing protocol, make a copy, and tweak it to create an optimized fork. And the platform allows you to compare two versions of the same protocol side by side. So you can see what the difference are very easily. So in this case, I'm going to be comparing version 1 to version 2. And you can see that the platform highlights the differences between the two versions of the protocol. And importantly, even if a member of your workspace leaves because, for example, a student has graduated, the protocols will remain organized, up to date, and available in the file manager. You can also select to print or export as a PDF or to Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive. So let me open again. So what you see here, it's my account in protocols.io, and I'm working specifically from my file manager. So I can take any protocol. These are just test protocols, but I can take any protocol, export it as a PDF, and I can send it to my computer, or I can add apps to which I can send my protocol as a PDF. You can collaborate beyond your workspace by sharing your protocol with specific people via email or by publishing them. Again, I'm opening my account in protocols.io. I can take any protocol and send it to someone outside my workspace by clicking the share button. I can add collaborators to this specific protocol by typing their email address. And once I add a collaborator, I can control what these collaborators can do. So in this case, Lenny can edit my protocol, but Nastya, Emma, and Daniel can only see it. And at any moment, I can change that and just save the changes. Now, publishing a protocol will assign to it a DOI and will allow anyone with an internet connection to search for the protocol and to read it. A published protocol with an assigned DOI is a citable object that can be referenced to in a paper, giving credit to the author's methodological work. The reference will also be linked to the detailed step-by-step protocol in the platform. So the reader will always have access to the methods, even if the paper has been published behind a paywall. And once a protocol is published, any reader, as I mentioned before, can create a new fork or editable copy, modify this new fork according to their own needs. So in a sense, all public protocols, because they're open access, are templates for further optimization. The platform will link any copied fork to the original protocol, maintaining the line of credit. So for example, this is a protocol that is a fork, an optimization of a protocol created by somebody else. The platform indicates that what we're seeing was actually forked from an original protocol, which we can read by following the link. So in this way, all authors get credit for protocol creation and optimization, and the reader has access to the history of changes and evolution of the protocol. Another way to share your protocols and to increase your credit for your method development work is to send your protocols for peer review as a standalone methodological papers to PLOS ONE, Nature Protocols, BMC Methods, and Lab Animal. So what you see here in this slide is the option that you have once you have created your protocol to send them to any of these 4 journals for peer reviewed and publication. Publishing your protocol as a peer-reviewed paper should increase visibility of those methods as well. Now, going back to the workspace, you can create multiple workspaces for different projects or to teach different courses. Each workspace can have different collaborators and host different documents. And this should give you great flexibility to organize your work. I appreciate, however, that many of you probably already have a series of existing protocols in different digital formats, let's say PDFs or Word documents. So in the last few minutes of my presentation, I will run a very short demo to show you how you can bring those existing digital protocols into the platform of protocols.io. So I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. And then I will reshare in a second. Okay, so again, what you see on the screen, it's my account on protocols.io. This is my file manager. And then I'm going to open my hard drive where you can see that I have a few protocols in different formats. So I have a protocol that is a PDF, a Word document, a text file, and even Apple Pages. I can open any of these protocols for you to see. There is a title, there is an abstract, and there are a few sections with the steps. So the easiest way for you to bring your existing protocols in the platform is just to take them, and you can just drag them to the folder in which you want to save those protocols. In this case, I transfer them to the demo folder. I open them and I see my protocols here. So I am centralizing all my protocols in a single repository, and these protocols will automatically be shared with all the members of my workspace. I can also take any of these protocols and share them beyond my workspace with the share functionality that I showed you before. However, because these are not protocols in technical sense, they weren't created with the editor, I cannot publish any of these protocols. The easiest way to create a publishable protocol of any of these existing protocols is to create an empty protocol with the editor and attach the protocol as any of these documents. So to do so, I go to the editor, I select create a new protocol. I can add a title. And in the description tab, I will have a space to add an abstract. Abstracts are always very important if you want to publish your protocols, because an abstract will make the protocol more discoverable. Now, instead of adding the steps, what I'm going to do is in the description tab at the very bottom, there is a space for me to attach my protocol as a PDF in this case, but I can also do that with a Word document. So I attach the PDF. And now if I go to the viewer, I will see that my protocol has a title, has an abstract, and the protocol itself is attached as a PDF. Now, because this is a protocol created with the editor, I can publish this protocol. By publishing, it will receive a DOI, and then I can cite this protocol in my papers. However, because the protocol doesn't have steps, I cannot run it, I cannot comment on the steps, and the protocol itself is not dynamic or interactive. It is contained within the attached PDF. So I'm going to go back to the editor to show you how you can create steps from a text document. It doesn't work for PDFs. It only works for text documents. So I'm going to open my protocol as the Word document. I can take the title. I can replace the title. I can take my abstract, replace the abstract. But the most important thing is that in the steps, instead of adding new steps one by one, I can go to the left, click Insert Steps from Text. It opens this window. I can copy the steps that I want to insert, paste them here, and now the steps from the text file have been transferred to the protocol. I can name my section. I can create a new section. And then I can keep inserting my steps just using the inserted steps from text. So I show you 3 ways in which you can create protocols from existing files. You can drag and drop your protocols. You can attach a document. You can import steps from a text file. And we also offer an import service. So by going to protocols.io/we enter protocols, you can send us in this URL your existing protocols, and our team of editors will create dynamic interactive documents out of your Word documents or PDFs. This service has a cost. However, if you work for an institution that has a partnership with protocols.io, a premium license, this service is included in the partnership. So I hope that I have provided information enough to persuade you that by using protocols.io, you can stay organized, collaborate efficiently, save time, increase your impact, and get credit. This is my last slide, and I will be happy to take any questions. If you have questions, you can type them in the Q&A window or in the chat window of Zoom. You also see my email address here, so feel free to send me an email down the road if you don't have questions now, but you have in the future. I'm going to stop the recording just in case somebody wants to ask a question of the record.